Guys, welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. We're previewing the big card at the weekend. No, we're not on about Fury Wilder. We, of course, on about the big event that's going to be coming at Liverpool. Obviously, some great fights on the card, and we're going to go through them all. Well, pretty much every single one of them. As always, I am joined by Josh and Ben. How are we doing, lads?
Good, mate.
All
Good.
good.
Really excited about this.
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump straight in. And we're starting off, obviously, a heavyweight contest. Josh, I know you want to speak about this one, so I'm just going to hand it straight over to you.
There we go. Right. I just want to say, how good is this card? I genuinely think it's the best British card, top to bottom, in the last 5 years. I absolutely love it. So to start, we've got Solomon Dakers versus Kamil Sokolovsky. I think I've got that right. Dakers, there we go. Dakers coming into it 2-0, one win by stoppage, and he's looked good so far. But in fairness, hats off to this guy, man. This is such a step up so early in his career. Sokolovsky's coming in. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not such an impressive record, but the experience is there. That's 10 wins, 22 losses. He's very experienced. Although it's a losing record, he's only been knocked out 3 times. So to me, that tells me he's going to be durable and give Dakers a little bit of a test. And I don't think he's going to have it all his own way at all, which you don't get that off a professional coming into it in their third professional fight. I know he's got the background, but I'm so impressed with him coming into this. I do think Dakers will get the win, but I do think it'll be on points.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is going to be an exciting one to see. And as you say, fair play to him because you could see him maybe have stepped in with someone who was a bit more of a journeyman. Of course, look, the opponent's record isn't amazing, but he's still got 10 wins to his name. Yes, he has got more than 20 losses, but you've got to bear in mind this is just his third professional fight. Ben, let's move on to obviously Tasha Jonas. We're not too sure, are we yet, whether we are actually going to get to see her in the ring. Still an opponent not announced?
Well, no, and with it now being less than a week, when they haven't had an opponent announced, you're never 100% sure it's going to happen. So with this being pre-recorded, for all we know, it might not be happening. But I hope it does. It's going to be really good to see her back in the ring, back out there, hopefully looking sharp, back to winning ways, which in Liverpool, you can't not have Miss GB. I think that's why it would be great to see her again. Hopefully sets up another world title shot against Terry Harper, because I think everyone's going to want to see that rematch. The first one was so exciting at Fight Camp. A lot of people, including myself, think that she was robbed. And in the second one, she might walk away with the belt. So gets her active again. Hopefully gets that rematch going.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we do get to see her on the cards. Moving on to the next one, though. I think it's one that we're all looking forward to see. Obviously, Ryland Charlton back in action, coming up against Luke Willis. Josh, let's just head straight over to you. I think as a channel, we know we're going to be bigging up here. Obviously, Ryland back down to the weight that he'll want to be competing at after, obviously, the marquee fight. It's good to see him at this lightweight level, and you've got to back him, surely.
No, I do. If you look at Luke Willis's record, it's 10-0, which is impressive. Only the one stoppage to his name. But for me, where Ryland wins this, there's 2 main reasons. He's back at 135, and let's be honest, the pictures he's been putting on social media, we're not just saying this because he's been on this channel, so obviously we are going to support him, but he looks an absolute beast at the weight. The man's in some incredible shape. He's got that punch power, which is only going to be amplified at this weight. And also, you do a little bit of digging into Luke Willis's resume, and it's not the most impressive. We heard Ryland say on here himself that he doesn't want to just go in with journeyman to build a record. He wants proper fights. It's what the fans want. What he wants. It motivates him. I don't know if the same can be said of Luke Willis. A few fights in there with losing records. I'm backing our man Ryland, and I think he's going to get the stoppage. I really do. And then he'll go on and he'll have a run at lightweight. And I think we could see some belts, British, who knows? The sky's the limit for him. He looks in incredible shape.
Yeah, for sure. And if we do get him back on, obviously after the fight, my first question to him is going to be, what's his diet? Because I don't know whether he's just been eating raw protein or something, but God, he looks in shape, doesn't he? So, yeah, I mean, he looks in shape. And as you say, one thing you picked up on there, Josh, that I found really commendable about Ryland was the fact that, you know, there is no stat padding in his resume. He looks like, you know, he's come in, he wants to fight the opponents that are going to be close fights. He doesn't really care if he did pick up a loss, as long as he's fighting those opponents that the fans are going to want to see. And I found that very commendable in this day and age. Ben, I'm also guessing, you know, yourself, you're probably thinking this is going to be a Ryland win too.
I am, yeah. I think Willis, yeah, he's undefeated, but 10 fights for 2 people with positive records. That's never great to see. Yeah, he fought in April, then before that, it was 2018, end of 2018. You think, right, so still he's using his way back in, but 1 KO, Ryland's going to have every round, and we know he's got natural power. He's going to have every round to pick him off. I think Ryland's going to be so confident that he's not going to be stopped. So I think he's going to march him forward. He's going to take his time. I think he's going to knock him out. I really do, because he knows that Ryland knows Willis isn't going to stop him. So he can just use every second. He can step forward. I think we're going to see a really destructive performance by Ryland. I think as much as people started talking about him after the Marku fight, even more will start talking about him now, and even more are going to start noticing him. Like Josh said, belts could be on the horizon for him because he looks in great shape, and I think it's a great fight for him to go and put on a show and get back to winning ways. And
I think it's one of them, as you say, as well. I mean, obviously 6 wins, 3 of them have been by KO. I think that's very impressive in general, that early on in your career, but especially at this weight. So I think I'm going to back you guys. We're going to go through it. We're going to back Ryland. Hopefully, you know, as you say, he picks up the win, and let's see him get, you know, start to challenge for those championships as well. That's what we want to see on this channel, and I'm sure, you know, people will see on Saturday why he's such a great fighter that we're backing. Obviously, moving on to Kieran Conway coming up in the next fight. Josh, I know this is one that you want to speak about.
Yeah, well, this is the start. You've got Kieran Conway versus JJ Metcalf, and this is the start of an absolute monster triple header. Since long before we started this channel a couple of months ago, we've been talking about the 154 division, particularly domestically, being absolutely on fire. You know, you got in this one, we'll get onto the others. Kieran Conway versus JJ Metcalf. Conway 16-2 with the 1 draw. Only the 3 knockouts, but he is a good boxer, and he's not been knocked out himself, so the chin is there. He's coming off the back of the Sulaiman Sissoko defeat on the Canelo undercard. But how much, you know, he's fighting in the Alamodome, you know, I think it was 70,000 people, but it was a record crowd. That experience is going to put him in such a good position to now he's back on home soil in the UK, in Liverpool. And, you know, some people thought he won the fight with Sissoko, but, you know, the point is he wasn't outclassed by a long stretch. He's shown he can box. I'm excited about him. He's only 25. There's still time to improve, and he can be a force in this division. You know, you look at JJ Metcalf, he's 21-1, 13 knockouts. So, you know, he's got more power there. He's coming off the back of his loss to Ted Cheeseman in Gibraltar. He's 33 now. He's a good boxer. Shane Neary's son. We all know Shane Neary's passed. But for me, this is sort of for JJ Metcalf, possibly win or bust. You know, 33, 154, the division's on fire. It's a great fight for Conway, a good test, but I back Conway to come through it on points.
Yeah. I think that's probably going to be what a lot of people are thinking. As you say, Metcalf himself doesn't have a too bad a resume at all. Ben, interested to see what your thoughts are on this one.
Well, I could just say, like Josh saying, great domestic card. It's great how many Liverpool fighters we've got. You've got Jonas, Luke Willis, we just mentioned, and JJ Metcalf. It's great that the home crowd are going to love this. But I have to agree that I think Conway will beat him on points. But I think it's a great matchup. I think Eddie Hearn has done a good job with this being put together. And I think, like, Kieran Conway's draw was against Ted Cheeseman. JJ Metcalf's last fight out against Ted Cheeseman where he lost. And I think, like, before the Metcalf and Cheeseman fight, Conway did call out the winner of that. But unfortunately, he got the loser. But I think if he can beat JJ Metcalf and we see Cheeseman come out on top, there's no reason we can't see that fight next again because it was a draw. He's got, sitting with Conway, he can happily say he deserves to take on Cheeseman again. I think people would want to see it because I think he's going to put in a good performance. Like Josh said, only 3 KOs, but a great boxer. And I must admit, it's going to be an exciting fight, that one. It could steal the show, possibly.
Yeah, it definitely could. I think it's going to be an interesting fight. It's going to be a close one, isn't it, as well? Moving on to the next fight. Obviously, we've got Pete McGrail. Last I've checked, it's still an unconfirmed opponent. Is that right, Josh?
To my knowledge, but as we do, we have said this is a pre-record. But, Pete McGrail, ex-Team GB, won gold at the 2017 European Championships, gold at the Commonwealth the year after. It's his pro debut, but against an unnamed opponent, there's not a lot we can say. But he's a Liverpool fighter, making your professional debut with a proper amateur pedigree in front of your home fans, particularly after the last 18 months, guys. Don't forget, for a lot of these boxers, it's been hard work financially. They can't get the fights. If they're not fighting, they're not, it adds to the financial woe, if you like. I'm excited about this guy as a prospect. I think he's going to go on to do big things. And Saturday, it'll just be the first stepping stone on the way to greatness for me.
Just a quick one then on this one, Josh. Do you think that it will be one of those fights where do you expect him to maybe get an opponent where he's expected to win just to put his name a bit on the map, especially with the home crowd?
I think that always happens as a pro debut in particular. The amount of promotion that's gone into Pete McGrail when they signed him Matchroom, they're obviously got big plans for him. And the fact that the opponent's still unnamed also, we probably are going to see a journeyman, but, we'll probably see a Pete McGrail win and he'll look good doing it. And hopefully he joins the likes of a Campbell Hatton in terms of being active. And, we get to see these guys fight quickly. And, it helps get invested, doesn't it, in what they're doing, what they're bringing to the table for us as fight fans. I'm excited about it. And it's just another great addition. If you were to build a boxing card, this is perfect. It's just got something for everyone. You've got the likes of Solomon Dacus stepping up, but so early in his career. Hopefully, we've got Tasha Jonas, who's a fan favourite, Miss GB, building back towards that world title fight. Ryland Charlton, as we just said, it's just top to bottom. What a card. And we'll go on to it now, actually. Sorry, Scott, I'm going to cut you off and do your job for you. Next, we've got Ted Cheeseman versus Troy Williamson. And it's just a perfect card. It completely sorts out the pecking order, bar Scott Fitzgerald potentially. Obviously, we know he has personal issues, which sort of had him in and out of the ring. But it shows the rankings, doesn't it? It sorts the, the top guys from the, not so good and answers a lot of questions. So, Ben, I'll chuck it over to you. Ted Cheeseman, Troy Williamson, talk me through it.
Well, I'm excited for this one. I'm a big fan of Cheeseman. We know he struggled when he stepped up in the past.
I love the name.
Big Cheese. 2019, it's a tough year for him, wasn't it? A loss, a draw, a loss. But I think COVID helped him. Out of all the boxers, I think the break from COVID, because Cheeseman's a fighter, and I think he would have got straight back in the ring, and the odds are it could have hurt his career again. And I think that break is going to helped him recharge. He came back with that war against Egerton at fight camp, and it was a great performance. I know people said it was close. I thought he'd won by a large margin. And then he went and beat JJ Metcalf, as we've mentioned already. I think it's a good fight, an undefeated fighter. It's Troy Williamson's big step up, but I do think he's going to lose. I think Cheeseman's going to outbox him. I do think, though, when Cheeseman lets loose, because we know he likes to just start swinging, that is Troy's chance to put him down and beat him. But I think Cheeseman's got enough about him to recharge, take a step back. I think he'll outbox him, and I think he'll keep that belt. I do think the Conway fight will come. I'm really excited for this fight. I really am.
One thing you would say about this fight, though, that Cheeseman does have to be careful. You look at, obviously, Williamson's record is 16 fight wins. 12 of them have come by KO as well, haven't they? So, do you see any danger, Josh, or is this going to be a Cheeseman win for you?
There's danger, clearly. Williamson, as you've just sort of pointed to, can punch. He's coming over to Matchroom to fight on this card from Queensbury. But I don't see him being as big a threat. I think Cheeseman's been in with better, whether it was, his European title fight, which I know he came up short in, but the lessons he learned, same with the Fitzgerald fight, lessons learned, Conway draw, lessons learned. Williamson's not had those those wars. And,
Yeah.
love it or hate it, Ted Cheeseman at 26, you think of the fights that man's been in. The JJ Metcalf, for me so far, that's possibly one of the fights of the year. I thought it was an absolute war. Tony Sims, a brilliant trainer, doing fantastic things with that stable he's got. And I think Cheeseman wins this quite comfortably. I think it'll be on points, but I think it'll be by quite a good margin. I think, if I had to pin it, 8-4, 9-3 maybe. And I think Cheeseman comes through it. And until we know what's happening with Scott Fitzgerald, he could jump in with even potentially the winner of the main event, because the theme of this card is everyone's stepping up. No, there's no bullshit. Fighters are stepping up and making the good fights. I was disappointed when the British Boxing Board mandated Williamson to this position. I've been calling for ages. Ben will know in particular. I've wanted Ted Cheeseman versus Anthony Fowler for a good long time now, and I thought that was the fight. But Fowler will move on to. He's on, he's stepping up to world level for this card. But, will we see Cheeseman in with the winner? Even the loser, it's still a credible fight. And Cheeseman at 26 has got time. And, there's no need to think I'll rush this, because he's possibly rushed before and came up short. But I'm so excited for this fight. And, this card, it's just brilliant. I know I keep saying it, but it is incredible.
There's a lot more 50-50 fights, and I think that's what makes this exciting. You're going in, some fights that aren't 50-50, you still see as being a bit of a war. I think for the past few months, we haven't had cards like this. They've all been predictable. This isn't as predictable, and I think that's why it's like we're all so excited for it.
I agree with that. I think even the Joshua Usyk card, yes, I think everyone was shocked by the main result, but the rest of them, I just sat there thinking all this is doing is building up to the main fight. Yeah. You just don't feel that here, do you? You feel that it's stacked by purely just the amount of fights we're getting for our book as well, which is obviously not a bad thing. Not sure if it's going to be the first undercard or the second, but let's also cover the big female boxing clash that's going to be on the card. Shannon Courtney back in action against Jamie Mitchell. Interesting one, isn't it? I think for me personally, I like the fact that we're starting to see these female fighters further up the card, because especially, a lot of the times, I've got to be honest, sometimes I think that they offer one of the closer matches and one of the better matches. And it's good to see them just keep going up the card. And as we've said before on this channel, one day, we see a big event headlined by more female boxers. Ben, I know you wanted to cover this one, so I'll let you give your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Shannon Courtney's, and I'm really happy to see her defend her world title now. She's meant to be back at fight camp, but obviously with the injury, it's been pushed back. But I think for an undefeated fighter in Jamie Mitchell, but this is Jamie Mitchell's first specialist fighter with a positive record. And I think Shannon Courtney's going to come in, she's going to do a job on her. I think she's going to knock her out, and I think she's going to do it in style, defend a belt, and I think she'll move on for more belts. And me personally, some might see it as a step back, but I want to see her go in and Rachel Ball again, because she beat her in that first fight. And I just think going women's division, there's not loads of names to go for. She can afford to go for Ball, and it won't hinder her career, because she's still got time to get all the belts and do the likes of what Taylor's doing and everyone else, and Chantel Cameron. I think she's got time, and I do think she'll go that way. You see her learning every time, and I think that loss to Rachel Ball, she came out in the next fight, and that knockout, she literally spun the woman around. And then she come against Ebony Bridges for the world title, and she just put on an absolute clinic. Bridges' eye was a mess, and I think her last two performances have been her best two, and she's only getting better. And that loss, it's improved her, and she is a world-class fighter.
That can happen. Oh, go on.
No, go on, Josh. Sorry, I'll let you pitch in.
No, I was going to say that can happen, hasn't it? And I think you've nailed it, Ben. There's not a lot really for me to say. I agree with you.
That's the first time I've ever said that to me. Cheers, man.
Well, you were due it. It's been 20 odd years, so I'm pleased it's come.
I thought you were going to say 2 months about how we've run in the channel. No, just straight in on the whole friendship.
No, but I do.
Ben, I'll give you your dues as well. I was literally about to say the same thing. There's not much left to say. I can't argue with anything you've said. So let's move on to the main event. Obviously, Liam Smith coming up against Anthony Fowler. Josh, you touched on the fact that obviously Fowler's going to be stepping up here to the world level. Does he have a chance?
Do you know what? This is really tough for me, because there was rumours about this fight for a week or two, I think, before it was actually announced. And I'm a big Anthony Fowler fan. I know people sort of love him or hate him, but he's 15-1, 12 knockouts. He's done quite a bit domestically. Harry Scarf, Adam Harper. He's stepped up, with his last fight, Rico Muller, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he's building nicely. And then this has come from a little bit left field, really. Like, as a fan of both, I've been calling for the Cheeseman fight.
Yeah.
But this Liam Smith's world level, he's next WBO world champion at this weight. He's 29-3, 16 knockouts. He's good boxer, but can also bang a little bit. He's only been stopped once by Canelo. Obviously, there's absolutely no shame in that. And, he's coming off the back of what was, in a lot of people's eyes, a complete robbery against Kurbanov over in Russia. But he's traveled. He's fought in Mexico recently, America, Russia. He's been there and he's done it all. Now, I know Anthony Fowler, he's coming from a pretty seasoned amateur background, but I just think it's different. And I do worry. The positives for Fowler for me are since he's lost to Fitzgerald, he left Dave Caldwell, and he's looked brilliant under Shane McGuigan, as a few of McGuigan's fighters have since going to him, in fairness. But I just worry that the step up's too big. I'd love to be wrong because, Liam Smith's 33 now. And although Fowler's 30, we've got a few more years in him. I think there's a few bigger fights. And I love a domestic tear-up. And I think, with Anthony Fowler, there's the Cheeseman fight, always the Fitz rematch if Fitzgerald can get back. Whereas with Liam Smith, I think, he could be looking at another. If he wins this, he'll want a world title fight. We could be at the tail end of the career type thing. And if you had to push me for a prediction, I'd be going Liam Smith on points. And it upsets me to say that because I genuinely am a big Anthony Fowler fan.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, Josh? Obviously, you said about Liam travelling around, obviously going to Russia, Mexico. I mean, this one, it's on home soil, isn't it? And you talked about, it being a proper British clash. Well, it's not just a British clash, it's a Liverpoolian one as well. Ben, are you going to side with Josh on this? Are you going to go for the Liam Smith win? Or do you think Anthony Fowler's maybe got a bit more of a chance than Josh has perhaps suggested?
So for me, I think I have to agree with Josh, but it's like your head tells you Smith's going to win this, but my gut is telling me Fowler's going to do it.
Ooh,
it's like,
okay.
I don't know. It's like if you look at it and you think about it, yeah, it's Smith's, but I've just got this feeling I can't shake that Fowler's going to do what a lot of people aren't expecting him to, because he's got a good amateur pedigree. He's improved under Shane McGuigan, as Josh said. And it's one of those things. Smith is a world-class boxer. We know this. And you don't blame Fowler for taking it, because if you get these shots as a boxer, you believe in your own ability. So I 100% agree with him taking the fight. And Smith, I know people say that he was robbed in Russia. But since before that, his last win, which was his last fight before that, was in 2019. So for Fowler, I think this is the best chance for him to go for him. I think Smith is still that relevant name to get on his resume, I think the timing is perfect. Doesn't mean he's going to win, but I've just got this feeling that he's going to go and put on a bit of a masterclass, and I think it's going to shock the world. Well, shock the world, shock England, shock Liverpool. I just think I've got this gut feeling that Fowler's going to snatch it and he's going to carry on from there.
I do hope so. I genuinely do.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's nice to have a main event where we're both, we're obviously debating, obviously, who's going to win on the English kind of soil, especially. There's been a few too many cards recently where I felt it's been more of a given. It's an interesting one as well. Obviously, then for a second, I thought you two were actually going to agree on a main event decision then. But no, you've gone a different way like you did on our last video. But...
I just want to say, Scott, this one hurts me to do because I am a big Anthony Fowler fan, but I do just think, some of Ben's comments there, while I think they're valid, I do worry that, are we sort of looking at Liam Smith as being a little bit too far gone? And he's not. He was brilliant against Kurbanov in Russia. And I saw some comments on social media, and fingers crossed it's not. But some people are talking about this as when Sam Eggington fought Liam Smith. And people are talking about, Eggington on the rise, Smith perhaps sort of plateauing out. Yeah. And we all know how that went. Liam Smith absolutely destroyed him. I really hope I'm wrong. I really do. And I'd love to see an Anthony Fowler win, but I've got to go with Liam Smith.
I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, gents, as you know, and for anyone that did watch our last video, the Wilder Fury debate, I finished the last video by shouting Bomb Squad down the mic. Of course, I can't do that, so I'm going to shout Come on Rylan instead. Obviously, friend of the channel. We want to send him our good luck wishes. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this card. I'm sure everyone that's watching this is. Final thoughts, guys?
One thing I want to add is after the fight, we are going to be going live to review the card, like we did with the AJ fight. After that, we're going to go live, give our thoughts, and if you all want to join us again and throw in any questions, what you think, and we'll have a good conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to probably not have a voice by the end of Sunday morning. We're going to be doing a live reaction to this, a live watch along of Fury Wilder 3, and a live reaction at probably 7 in the morning to it as well. So we're going to be very tired, probably have no voice on the Sunday. But look, you guys get lots of content. So hit that like button, hit the sub button. Help us get to 100 subs, and we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers. Guys.